It is the Anfield Wrap in association with RedsBet, partnering with the Anfield Wrap in 2019. We're very pleased to have them indeed. They give their 50% of their profits to fan-related causes and media, and they are looking to support the fundraising community around supporters in this country. So thank you very much to them. Obviously, be responsible in any of your interactions. I have in front of me Ben Johnson, Paul Cope, Mel Reddy, and Rob Gutmann, superstar DJs, ready to go. The enormity of it then is the thing that I can't get away from. Mel Reddy, every final in a sense feels like it's must win, but it can't be, in that every final has to have someone who loses. It literally cannot be. They cannot all be must win by definition. But I think this one is as close to a must win final for this group of Liverpool players as could be imagined. This is the one they need to feel as though they've lifted up the shiny thing they deserve to lift up together.
They'll definitely feel that way, not just because of Kiev last season, where, you know, they would have felt unfortunate given the injury to Mohamed Salah, Loris Karius, and the whole talk about concussion and obviously his blunders in the final. And the way the game changes after Salah goes off, just in terms of, you know, not being able to stretch Madrid anymore and how it felt. And there was this in the ground, and that's just how the game felt after that. So
you ever watched it back?
No.
You've never watched it back? Who watched it back? Then watched it back?
No. I think I've watched
not the entirety of
most of it.
You watch most of it? You watch it back?
No.
You watch it back?
No, not doing that.
The mad thing about it, when you watched it back, because I watched it back, is they are defending in the red, Madrid, up to the point at which the injury happens. They are on the rack.
Yeah.
And it was only really watching it back I fully got onto that. In the ground, you when a ball doesn't get through, Ben, it gets intercepted, you're a bit like, but when you're actually going, oh my God, he's lunging to get near it, if not Liverpool are in. That was what was happening, wasn't it?
I remember being in the grounds. We were all stood together, and I remember saying, we're stretching. We're pushing. When you watch that back, you can see like the way Liverpool set up in the Champions League was to just keep asking questions, and you could see the tempo building. You could see them sort of getting a bit more out of breath, they're getting a bit deeper, getting a bit more ragged, and it felt like it was coming. And then Ramos just boxes his side off, completely boxes his team. What, we under the cosh here? Yeah, watch this then. Even if he doesn't go off injured, he buys them 5 minutes to regroup and recover. And it did feel, once he went off, we just sort of, it felt like we just tried to see the game.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens then. And then you mentioned Karius, you forget about him, don't you? Like, I forgot about him until you said it. I was like, fucking hell, yeah, remember him?
Like an inverse ringer, you know what I mean? we had to
have brought the lads on, he's a keeper, he's sad, you know, is he? Yeah, he's great.
Was it us having a conversation the other week? I couldn't remember he played in goal. My brain had Mignolet in goal in that final, because it's just blanked it out. It refuses to let me think about it.
Okay, back to Mel.
Yeah, but even otherwise, the show will become entirely on the goalkeepers. But just parking what happened last season and then preceding that with the League Cup final and the Europa League final, how Liverpool have recovered from all those near misses to then go and get 97 points and put themselves back in the Champions League final. There will be this overwhelming sense of, we have done so well, and us as a team and the fan base and the coaching staff deserve everything that we've done so far to be underscored by silverware, the biggest piece of silverware you can win in club football. So in that sense, absolutely, they'll all be thinking, we cannot not cede this opportunity.
Yeah, this is right. This is the weird thing that's making me more anxious by the minute the closer we get to this final is, it's not like it's just the Liverpool in the European Cup final. Wouldn't it be a thing to win the European Cup? It was like that pre-Istanbul. And not just because we're strong favourites for the first time. Because I felt we were, I don't know if we were, but I felt we were favourites in 2007. I saw it was 50-50 Madrid. Even Istanbul going into it, I was fairly bullish about it. But there wasn't these subplots around it like, and if we win it, do you know, because there's a lot of subplots. If we win it, we're better than Man City and they can fuck off, right? That's it. if we win it, even if we win it, if we win it, we've got a monkey off our back. Tell
us what you really think, Rob.
Yeah, if we win it, we've got a monkey off our back in that we've got that trophy this team deserves to have. We've beaten the Klopp not winning in finals hoodoo. There's a series of subplots aside from, hey, we've won the European Cup. There's all these defiant pride signifier marker things, which I don't think are normally present in these situations, not quite as much anyway. And that's ratcheting up the tension, certainly for me in my little universe, but I think probably across the board.
Across the board?
Am I wrong? No, I think I at the point out 10 seconds before Tottenham scored against Ajax, I was watching that game thinking Liverpool are going to annihilate Ajax. And this is going to be one of them cup finals where you get to go, enjoy the whole thing, and then watch Liverpool win 4-0 quite easily. I thought, because Ajax, they've done unbelievably to get to that point.
I had 4-1, they go 1-0 up. And then they've got no legs from 20 in each half.
Knackered. I mean, and you know, we're going to come on to that, but this gap at the end of the season is going to have a big impact, I think, on the game, because it's given people the ability to recover and stuff. But I just thought we would have far too much for Ajax, and for me, looking at it, you've got this subplot, you know, all the stuff. Oh, Liverpool have now got another opportunity, and it does feel to me like if we don't win this time, like when are we going to win anything? Do you know what I mean? Like it does feel a bit like we need to win it. We need to find a way, whatever that way is, to win this game, because if we don't, you know, we've gone last year. Okay, we had the season we had in Europe, and then we had all that tough luck in the final, sidelines, whatever. Fine, okay. You can pick yourself up. You weren't favourites anyway. Mad thing can happen in a final. Okay, well, let's go into this final then. We are favourites, and let's hope no mad things happen, and it plays out as the final should, that we win because we're the favourites. And you just think, if there's a diddle now, what does it take for us to I'll just peel them players off the floor to get them back ready 6 weeks later to go and try and be unbeaten and get 95 points plus to have even a glimmer of winning the league, and then do all this mad shit to get to a European Cup. You
can't use it as a manager. You could use Kiev if they don't win in Madrid. It's like, harness this feeling, boys. What, really? Again?
There's too many. It'll be too many hard luck stories. It's just League Cup and Europa League final. You can say it's just the early months of Klopp's tenure. At least they've showing that they're putting themselves in the position to compete for trophies, which Liverpool weren't for a long time. And then you qualify for the Champions League, and you think, okay, back-to-back Champions League qualifications, that's where we need to be. You get to the final unexpectedly because you have to go through Hoffenheim in the qualifier. So no one was actually predicting Liverpool can actually get to the final of the Champions League last season. And then you get there and that happens. To have just one more of those after the near miss in the league, losing the league by 1 point, it's just like, it's too many.
It's a tough ask.
Yeah, it's funny listening to all this. I'm trying desperately not to have my whole existence linked to the outcome of this football game.
Oh, so am I.
Because
how are you getting on with that?
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I'm struggling because one of my things last season as well.
Imagine being Jordan Henderson.
Oh, honestly, there's a whole load of us here, and including me in this, just need to pack it all in. If we lose this game, just leave, just done. Because I've been doing, one of my things has become writing these articles about, like, philosophically thinking about these things, and life's all about getting back up after you've been forced to your knees and blah 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 bullshit. And
don't pull the house of cards down and houses again, Coke.
I started writing a piece the other day and I thought, I can't write that. It's basically like, you've got to win this one. You've got to win. You've got to. Because I don't know what we do. And there's a world somewhere, and FSG must be a bit like this. I'm maybe getting to the point where if we lose, FSG have to sell up. And I think they're great. In the realm of owners of football clubs, and I don't want to start a big debate about this, but
what have you done?
For what they've done. But there's a world somewhere where they're the greatest owners of all time. Since they've come in, they've won absolutely everything. They've won 2 leagues, they've won 2 European Cups, they've won the UEFA Cup, and everyone's like, God, these are good owners, aren't they? If they lose this one, I can imagine them having a meeting with Henderson and Klopp and going, I think we all just need to go, don't we? Like, I think we just have a clear out.
Change the name. Let's change the name. Let's move them from Liverpool. Let's get a franchise in like Milton Keynes or something.
Yeah. Liverpool. Yeah. Let's change the
them off.
name. I like that.
Llangollen Reds.
It's actually the only move I think we'd have is changing the name.
The other part of this is the flip side in that, and this is why it does feel the enormity of it's my thing, Paul. In that, I just think if they win this, then they're going to be. I think they're going to be an unstoppable force. To be quite honest with you, like I think
that will be a relief.
But this is this is my thing, mate. Like there's so it's like we're on this massive knife edge where we go one way and everyone's just sitting there the next week going, I don't know what to do next.
I feel like chucking things around the room just listening to this.
Yeah. But you go the other way and it's like the greatest period in football history. And I've heard Mel talk about this and I can see that in the other clubs, even without going behind the scenes and speaking to them stuff, like how petrified everybody is. We were talking about this before and I keep winding up my mate who's a Man City fan saying, no one's asked about you, mate. No one cares. That fella who got into the press box is absolutely right. No, you've just won the treble for the first time in English football history, and no one is that bothered if we're all honest about it. As soon as that, the papers will do their papers thing, and then it'll all be about Spurs and Liverpool in the Champions League final. And if we win it, it'll be wow, Liverpool are back and all. So
what's that interesting? Just briefly, because I'm not talking about this beyond this point, because I can't be bothered. No. But it's dead interesting that the MEN today has done an 8-page pull-out celebrating the career of Vincent Kompany, not the domestic treble, which to me tells you a massive story. And Vincent Kompany is worthy of celebration, don't get me wrong, but they've done an 8-page pull-out, not celebrating the achievements of this team that no one else has ever done in English football, but celebrating Vincent Kompany, because that feels like an easier story to tell. Paul, Liverpool played 2-1-2 versus Spurs this season. Better side in both games, when we go to their gaff especially, but both end up tight. This is my fear with this game, is I think we're better than them, but we always have tight games with Tottenham.
Yeah, and seeing this stuff doesn't help me. I don't know why. My brain's
play 2-1-2 this season shouldn't be new news. You should be on top of this.
Yeah, I am on top of it, but it's that thing of just like, do you know what? Right, I'll click into gear my logical positive side. Whenever Joe in the run-in with the whole Man City thing, and it was like, yeah, but very few people ever win 14 games on the bounce. And it's like, yeah, but we've won 13 of them, and the next one is Brighton.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to win the 13 again. We just need to beat Brighton, and we've had a week to prepare, so I think we'll be all right. And it's a bit like this with this, like, you can go into the law of averages. I mean, you can't just keep beating them. But you're like, yeah, but we are well better than them. We are. We are a better football team than them. And we should, all things being equal, we should beat them. And that's what I just hope that's the attitude we go into this game with. The Klopp, it's a bit like the old Ferguson stuff. And it's funny that Ferguson thing was Spurs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think just Spurs today. Just go and beat them.
I think if the final had happened the Wednesday after the Wolves game, after the end of the season, we'd all rolled straight into that. I would have been totally relaxed. Not just because the time gap between being nothing. Just because the Liverpool in this form would have played the Tottenham in that form, and we're better anyway. And the relative forms, we'd have crushed them. I mean, lads I went to school with in London who are Tottenham fans are going to Madrid, and they're all going, they're laughing their heads off that they're in this final. They're going, how the fuck did that happen? We're shit. I mean, they were when they were 3 points off us at the top of the league, near the top of the league at the end of February. They're going, how's this happened? We're fucking shit, and so it proved. The key is winning. We've referenced this already. Who wins the break? Who wins the break? Because it can't help us, because we can only be knocked out of rhythm. They want to be knocked out of rhythm. Their rhythm's shit. And that's the anxiety. I'm just countering your positivity.
And I'm doing so well.
I did.
I had the benefit of doing the inside story of Spurs running the Champions League this far, and how they got to the semi-finals, and then obviously watched their games against Ajax, and have spoken to many people behind the scenes at Tottenham. And the thing for them is, I see Neil made a point here about the 20-odd points separating the sides in the league. And when they were talking about the run and, facing Borussia Dortmund, they were saying, in the league, your weaknesses will get shown up over the course of a season. You can mask it during good runs, or you can have a fine month or two, or a fortunate month or two, and that can cover up what you're lacking. But essentially, at the end of the season, the league table won't lie. It will tell you your shortcomings. Cup competitions are completely different, especially the Champions League. It's the nature of the moment. And when they were talking about that Borussia Dortmund game, Dortmund are an exceptional team in terms of speed, in terms of their counter-attacking ability, and how they can force pressure situations, their transitions. But the time Tottenham faced them, they were too expansive and they were conceding silly goals. They had a period where they were 3-0 up, 2-0 up, and just having to draw games and claw on at the end of games. And that's the moment Spurs were going to face that Dortmund side. So they speak about the context of that game. It wasn't just, this youthful Borussia Dortmund against, a Tottenham that haven't invested this summer or whatever. At the point that they played each other, Spurs were better because they were not as open as Dortmund. They had more balance. And so the game played out as the coaching staff, the tie played out as the coaching staff envisioned it to. Dortmund had an incredibly strong first half, as they all expected, because that's how they are. And then second half, they just evaporate. And that's where Spurs come into life. Now, for me, what happened in the league is completely inconsequential now. The break is too long, one. And it's all about the moment. And the moment of the league season is completely different to the moment the Champions League final happens. Because of the rest, because of the time to prepare. And Rob's right, if the final was played directly after the season ended, in that week after the season ended, Liverpool swagger into that final and they go with anger into that final, having lost the league by a point. All that sort of course they're still frustrated that they didn't win the league and stuff, but that subsides over time. All the, whatever your body's going through and your mental state, it changes. It will be a one-off game against two very resilient teams, and you mentioned the point about tightness, Neil, and I think it will come down to that because there's way too much time for two excellent managers to think about one negating the other and two maximizing their own strengths. So I just thought, I was going back to that piece.
Really again.
No. I'm still, and I think Liverpool in general will be confident because they do have more than Tottenham do. But Pochettino is an excellent manager at maximizing his resources. I was just thinking back to talking about this game and that piece when they spoke about a moment versus the marathon, and how the break actually helps that whole theory off the moment rather than the marathon.
Spoke to Jamie Carragher about this. Well, I didn't. John did. And he's also of the view that the gap benefits Spurs. Here's John talking to Jamie, and then we'll have a chat about that, and we will start to think about things from a Tottenham perspective.
We've got this funny gap now between the sort of league campaign and the finals. I mean, we were talking a little bit before, saying it's, never known it's so long, but you always had that kind of gap, really. So I'm just interested in terms of that idea of how you keep yourself going, what training's like, in terms of, you had maybe a couple of league campaigns that fizzled out a little bit because you had the Champions League. So how do you keep focus as a football player, and what's the kind of atmosphere like? Because I suppose as well, there's a bit of a competition for places there as well.
It's a weird one, really. You normally go away, and that's what Liverpool are doing. I think going to Marbella. No one's been able to give me a reason why the Champions League 3 weeks after the league campaign. It's normally 2 weeks, so you have the FA Cup, and then the week after is the Champions League. So that's not too bad. So I do feel for the players a little bit, that extra week. And I can only think it's the FA thinking, we'll do this to help Liverpool and England in the Nations League. But it's actually backfired, if that is the reason, and that two English teams are there. So if two English teams weren't there, there's obviously a longer break leading up to the Nations League. So that's pissed me off a little bit, that, to be honest. But I think it probably helps Spurs more than us, I would say. I think they've got bigger injury problems than us, certainly with Harry Kane, Harry Winks, so the little knocks they had towards the end of the season, so it gives you an extra week to be fit. I think we're in much better form than them in 2019, much better than Tottenham, and I think a longer break will not help that, really, in some ways. You do worry, could you lose a bit of that rhythm that Liverpool have had, the way they've been playing, and who knows, maybe I might be wrong, but I don't think Tottenham are in a great form. I know they got through and it's unbelievable what they've done. I love Pochettino, but they're not in great form. So maybe a longer break may help them sort of in some ways forget the bad form and get themselves ready for just this one game.
It's our second final in a row. It's Tottenham's first one under this manager and this kind of squad together. Do you think that's a factor at all? Do you think, I mean, there's good and bad ways of looking at it, really. Is Liverpool thinking, oh, we can't lose another one again? Or are they thinking, I mean, I suppose different players will think different things, but are they more likely thinking, well, we know what that feels like, we know what it's like, maybe we know mistakes we made in the build-up and we know how to put that right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are probably in the same boat. Liverpool fans watching the Ajax-Tottenham game, when Tottenham got through, they're probably disappointed. And there's a few reasons for that. I think normally in a European final, the whole thing about Europe is playing European teams, really. And when you play an English team, we only done it in semi-finals with Chelsea. They were great and we remember them because we won. But we played Chelsea too much. I'd love to have played a Juventus or a Bayern Munich in a semi-final. You know, just something a little bit different. And I think there's that bit. I think it's something I saw on social media, I thought it perfectly summed it up how everyone was feeling, was Liverpool don't fear Tottenham. They fear losing to Tottenham.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's more you think, oh my God, if we got beat, English team in your own country, the media, everyone, Spurs fan, you know, wherever it may be. But I've watched Tottenham in the two semi-finals a lot, obviously in the role I have at Sky, and if Liverpool play well, they'll win. I'm convinced of that, really. So I'm not going into it massively nervous about the opposition. I actually think Ajax were much better than Tottenham over the two legs and were unfortunate not to get through. My only worry is a Tottenham going to do a Liverpool 2005, a Chelsea, whatever year that was, when they won it in Bayern Munich, where not a great team or in great form, but they're just finding a way in the Champions League and things are happening, and you know, it could be that special year for them. It could be, but you could argue obviously what happened with Barcelona, we're in the same sort of boat.
Yeah, it's the story you tell yourselves, I suppose, isn't it? Because there'll be Tottenham fans will be going, oh, our name's on the trophy, you know, it's got to be after that, isn't it? But we kind of feel the same, and it does feel in Liverpool that this team is ready to win a big trophy, doesn't it? It feels like that to me anyway, and a lot of people I speak to is that, you know, we couldn't get over the line on the Premier League. You know, it hurts that happened, but this team just feels like it's been building towards something, and hopefully that something's going to be in Madrid.
Yeah, listen, I can't believe that Jurgen Klopp and this team won't win something big. I just can't see that over the next few years. When I say it deserves to win something big, you know, people outside will say, well, it doesn't. You know, you either do or you don't. But for me, I think what they've done, the job he's done as a manager, I think what the performances the players have done, to lose one league game is just unbelievable, really, and not win something for it. And I think you can get a European Cup. I mean, it's something that squad and players will always be brought back together for. I said that at the start with Jurgen Klopp, whenever he goes, to be able to bring something big back. As what you mentioned before about us being there before and Tottenham, I think it's a slight advantage for us that you've been there before. You were there last season. You think he's got a much better goalkeeper now. Hopefully Salah won't go off in the first few minutes. I think we'll have a better midfield going into that game as well. And I think you should never ever underestimate the power of the history going into the final. Even though both sets of clubs or players, they never played in those games, I think Liverpool will feel like they belong there. Whereas in some ways Tottenham just, wow, we're in a Champions League final. Probably a lot of the fans probably never expected to, not just this season, I'm talking in terms of we don't normally do things like this or get to Champions League finals or win a European Cup. I think for Liverpool, I wouldn't say it feels normal, but it's like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what our club's about. And even though this season there's been a big gap between the clubs in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, there hasn't been very tight, really. I think that's a big thing, taking a big history into a final, that belief that, we're here, we should be here.
Thank you very much to Jamie there and John. It occurs to me that better podcast hosts than me might have actually mentioned that we had Jamie Carragher on the show up the front instead. I just thought it'd be a lovely surprise for you to come. That might be why we didn't win the British Podcast Listeners' Choice Awards. We came second behind the Brexit cast, which is not in favour of Brexit, I've been informed. Instead, it's a general chat about the ongoing thing. So let's just put that mythology to bed. We didn't get beat by Brexit. We got beat by a Brexit cast. But thank you very much if you voted for us. If you didn't vote for us, well, I mean, you know, you can just have a good long look in the mirror and go from there. But if you did vote for us, then you can take your fill in our third consecutive second place in this, which, by the way, for the general tenor of the show, isn't marvellous either. Our full chat with Jamie will be out tomorrow. That is Tuesday. John speaking to Jamie, £5 a month if you want to subscribe and listen to it. Also, you can download the app or all the places that you download apps from. If you type the Anfield Wrap into search bars, you will get the app, and then you can download it, and then you can listen to that and other things, whether you subscribe or don't, and you can solve those sorts of problems as you go. All right then, back to talking about this from a Spurs perspective. While I completely take Mel's points before the break, firstly, this is a moment, it's a different moment, and Ben, the other aspect of this as well, it's unmoored from the season, but you've still got to take your data from somewhere. You know, it's not like Liverpool are going to turn up with 11 new lads. It's going to be the same. It's going to be 11 lads. I think you can probably say, if you were Tottenham, you can pick 9 or 10 of them already. What games, if you're Pochettino, what games are you looking at? What are you trying to say, right, we can learn something from this, and this, whether the Liverpool victories, Liverpool defeats?
I think, well, you think if you listen to all the top managers, Klopp when he's viewing upcoming teams, will watch how they set up against Man City and other sides who are similar to what we do, to see what the likelihood of how they set up. So he'll be scouting, obviously, the games they played against us. I think that we had that chat before. My concern about Liverpool playing Tottenham is the changes he makes at half time in that second game at Anfield. Pochettino,
yeah,
and then they'd run us for half an hour, and then we sort of come back into it. And I think he's got the ability to impact a game from the bench, and I also think he's got a squad there that can't believe they're in the European Cup final for a kick-off. A, because they were all knackered come November. B, because of the mad shit that's gone on for them to get there, the way they've managed to get there, and I think they've got an ability to win games out of nowhere, Tottenham. So I think it's a. I was wondering to myself, if this was an FA Cup final, how would you feel? And I wouldn't feel great about playing Tottenham in an FA Cup final. I'm not sure why. I'd probably feel a bit better about playing them in the European Cup final, just because it's so big, and you've got all their media commitments. We've been through that last season; they haven't. I think that might have an impact, and I also think what doesn't help them is Harry Kane. This might come back and bite me on the arse if he just turns up and he's like fucking Superman. But I think he's such an influential player, and he's such a big player, that if there's a chance he can get him on the pitch, I think they're better. I think it's a better situation if he's completely ruled out, because I think it's easier for them to deal with. And as I say, it might come back and bite me. But I think him coming back, no legs in him, hasn't played, probably kidding everyone that he's all right to play, because you would, if you're him, you're saying, yeah, I'm fine, there's no wrong with me, my ankle's fine. It's fucking like that. I don't know whatever he's done, I don't know what he's hurt. I think that's a big unknown. I think there's a few unknowns in this. They're going to know what we're about. When we're going to probably be thinking he's probably going to start on the bench, and they're going to have loads of jiggery, Paul, to use the technical coaching term. It is a coaching term.
Jiggery in the context of this. I think Liverpool can't actually do much jiggery. I think that's almost part of the being favourites thing. A little bit. Like you can't decide you've got problems to solve. You've got to say, if you want to back them and say you're the better side, you've got to have them play your way. I don't see. Klopp said Liverpool will play Liverpool's football. Now, Liverpool have been clever this season. Liverpool's football has involved cleverness and cuteness in a way that maybe it didn't have that the season before, or certainly the season before that. But I think you can take that at relative face value. I don't see. If you're again, imagine you're Tottenham. I think the one thing you can probably say to Pochettino is he's not likely to spring a surprise. There's not like to be a surprise in this. There's not going to be something you didn't see coming.
No, absolutely, and I wouldn't expect anything different. That it goes back to what worries me is Pochettino's so good, and he's got 3 weeks to prepare for this, and he's got 3 weeks to get his lads rested and in peak condition. But they'll be saying the same about Klopp. They'll be saying the same about our lads who just got 98 points. And yeah, I agree with the whole thing.
Lad.
Yeah.
98 would have been handy.
It would have been sound and a few more goals.
No, we still got a lot. Let's not get into that. Yeah, 97 points. But they'll be doing the same with us. We're incredible. We're an incredible football team. The number of times we've been here this season, and we've all said
98. The only way for us to have got 98 really is to draw the one against City. We'd have won the fucking thing. Sure.
All right, shut up, Ben. Go on.
Throw him out. Yeah,
Not that I've thought about it.
I know, I could tell. It's haunting your dreams. Yeah, we're brilliant. We've done this all season. We are an incredible football team in one-off games. Like, this is the thing about football season, isn't it? A football season is just a series of one-off games, and in loads of those games, way more than they've been, we've been an incredible football team. And the big thing for me going into this is, and this is a bit of the Ferguson Spurs thing. Going back, it was funny. As part of the Anfield Wrap being everywhere after that mad week, and I did 5 Live, and as I'm waiting to go on, Harry Redknapp's live on the show, and he's talking about how you just think Spurs' name's on the cup. It's just one of them seasons, and I felt like going to patch me in now. I want to speak to Harry. It doesn't work like that, mate. Sorry, we've done all this. Yeah, we could do it now as a role play.
Yeah, go what are you trying to say?
And this is the thing. We've been there. We went to Kiev and we were the underdog, and we were like, what a romantic story, and blah 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 blah. And Sergio Ramos and Real Madrid just went, no lads, we're well better than you. We've done this loads with these same lads. I remember us saying last year, these same lads have literally been here before. That's massive. It's massive that you're in a game under that pressure in that environment where their lads have just done it. And I remember I used to say to everyone, I don't want to start that debate again about Ramos and cheating and all that, but there's a picture of him after the game holding the European Cup just with his 5, just with his hand out, as if to say, just what we do, mate. And the big thing for me going into this is, even the way you're talking before about the way Spurs fans are about this, and God, we can't believe we're here, that's what we need to make the narrative. Yeah, you're the plucky underdogs and you think your name's on the trophy and all of that, but ultimately you've come here for a nice day out, and we haven't this time. We've come here to win, and we're Real Madrid, and we've got enough lads in our team now. This is the big thing for me when you talk about the 11 and who they are. I think we've got enough now. Just go, no, we win this game. It's as simple as that. We win this game.
This is it. From their point of view, they are just delighted to be here, and if they're doing their version of this, they're saying. And if we're to win, it's because we're free in the mind and they're not. That's how they win. That's how they'll be visualising them winning. But I agree with what you're saying. We now have, this will be our 3rd European final in 4 years, won't it? Is that right? Yeah, in 4 years. Not everyone's played in all of them by any stretch, but that's experience. We were saying going into Madrid, we were going, we probably actually are better than them. You watched how we blew Roma away and blew City away, and how they'd stumbled past Bayern. He goes, but they had that experience. We were all, I think, going in towards the final, go, fuck that experience, right? We'll just do the Liverpool thing on them and blow them away. But then they did the experience thing on us, actually.
Plus also, we had a fucking doping goalie.
They did a Jedi mind trick.
We were moving on the head and pretended
we were moving beyond that bench, beyond it.
So it's
Brian Melcy reminded me before.
Well, what we didn't have was a dog to clear the ball off the line. Did you guys see there was a clip going around of some obscure league where it was exactly the same kind of goal. The goalie rolls it out, goes in off the strike, but a dog's running and clears it off the line.
Wow.
Klopp's got a dog. This might be what the whole 3 weeks is about.
Release the dog.
He's only the dog.
He's clean through. Let him go.
The thing about the experience is Sid Lowe mentioned it last season ahead of that final, said Real Madrid don't actually have to be at their very best. They just have to be Real Madrid in the moments of the game that matter.
The moments.
And you know, they will, it's what they do, and it's what they're conditioned to do. It's like muscle memory.
Do you think I'm beginning to think we'd be better off with a tight game. We don't want it mad. I think Klopp might approach it conservatively would be the wrong way. I don't think he goes, we're just going to go and blow them away, treat them like they're Roma. I think he's going to want I think he's going to want control and bide our time. I don't think he wants it open, because I think Spurs do. I think they want mad. I think they want to win. I think Spurs will see themselves winning 3-2. I don't think we want that kind of game, obviously.
No, Liverpool have been measured all season, but measured with the intention still to maim.
Yeah.
In an attacking sense. I think actually, you know, we're speaking about the break and it being beneficial or not beneficial, rhythm versus, the reset. The lads, the forwards need the reset. They need the break because they're key. I think everyone else in terms of, you know, being narrow, putting pressure on the ball, all that kind of stuff I think comes naturally to all the other players, and I think it's less intensive than doing all that and being the blitz, being the weaponry. And so I think, Mane, Salah, obviously Roberto, we've seen him in Marbella early, doing extra fitness work to try and get ready for that final.
I think Andy Robbo needs it as well, but I think Virgil does.
The fullbacks as well, yeah. Just in a general sense, but we were speaking about which games Pochettino would be watching. And again, from that piece I did, Tottenham focus a lot on their own games against opponents. So against Manchester City, they went and looked at their previous games against them, what worked, what didn't work, where they got caught out in terms of tactically surprised, and I think they'll do that. You obviously look at other clips of where teams, sort of punished, how they conceded, how you've conceded goals. They'll look at that, especially in against the bigger opposition. But it will primarily be on the games the teams have played each other. And the fullbacks, I think Pochettino will be massively focused on reining in Trent and Robbo, because that's the last game that was what he changed to stop those two playing.
Did he go from 3 to 4, didn't he? He went to a 4-4-2, and that's
he played Danny Rose sort of left wing, second half, left wing back, but he wasn't. He was like a left midfielder, I think.
Yeah.
Danny Rose suddenly pushed right up and tried to push Trent back and tried to give Trent massive problems. That was his solution.
For half an hour, but then we won.
Yeah,
I thought it was a little overstated how Tottenham had forced their way back, because we had to overcommit a bit, and I think that made us look a bit more ragged. Because we were Klopp gambled in that game in a way he wouldn't have done 2 or 3 months earlier. He knew it was a shit.
And he wouldn't do enough in a cup final at 1-1. He wouldn't need to.
No.
Just on the Klopp Pochettino stuff, Paul. You were just saying there that we can do this. That this Pochettino is really, really good. The fact of the matter is, Klopp's, I think, probably had the best season of his life in terms of what he's got out of his players. It's not necessarily got the silverware on it yet, but he's probably never done his job better, both in terms of the long-term planning, the long-term management, and also at times game by game. Sometimes you can go mad on subs. Sometimes you make subs and they're just lucky. Sometimes you can make subs and they're just unlucky. Milner at Fulham managed to be both. He's there to score the winning penalty and to be integral that last 10 minutes. He actually miscues that sets up them going at 1-1. So you can do that either way. But it is worth saying that we've changed it well. We've changed it well in this last sort of 6 to 10 weeks. We've been the best versions of ourselves. Whilst it is unmoored from the season, we've been the best versions of ourselves since Bayern Munich away.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting thing about Klopp. I think he's a victim of his own persona.
Yeah.
And I think I think Liverpool fans as a whole buy into this as well, that he's just this big motivational ball of energy and he's great at lifting players. And I at the end of every season, I think the same thing. Football seasons are like a time vortex. They simultaneously feel like they've gone really quickly, but then when you start to try and think back to the start of the season, it feels like years ago. And you think about the whole Buvac thing, that's been forgotten now. But for a long period of this season, there was the debate of, we've lost the brain, or whatever he was called. Was he called the brain? Yeah. Which is a name that Klopp gave him. Like, it wasn't the football community saying, oh, by the way, Buvac is the brain behind this operation. That's part of Klopp doing the, we're one big team, and I need all these lads, and they're great, and isn't he fantastic? And there was a long period of time where Liverpool fans were saying, see, this is what happens, referencing Ayastaran and what that happened with Rafa. And we ended up with 97 points and we're in the Champions League final again. Because actually, that lad wasn't as important to Klopp's setup as he told everyone he was. Because at the end of the day, Jurgen Klopp is an incredible elite football manager. And the tactics and the brains are him. And yes, he does this sort of stuff as well. And he has this team around him that helps him with all of this. But he doesn't get to be where he is in the world of football by just being some motivational character.
I think... Go on.
I was at the FWA Awards, what is it now? A week ago or 2 weeks ago. And at the end of the night, there was actually a debate going on about managers, and both Pochettino and Klopp were called motivators, and I absolutely lost my shit, because if you do not take the time to go and speak to people who work intrinsically with those managers, if you do not have an understanding of the day-to-day, you cannot just label somebody something without going and doing your due diligence. On Klopp, I've written it before, and I always, whenever I have the chance to write it, I do, because he is absolutely a victim of the fact that he's larger than life. He is effervescent, he is funny, he is emotional, he's a football romantic, and so people tend to just put him in that box. Klopp organizes to the smallest detail, and you can go through and read, the pieces about from Hong Kong to Kiev, how he dealt with the Coutinho situation, which is, a massive management issue, all the way through to the piece I did at the conclusion of the league season about all the margins Liverpool looked to gain, how they worked on set pieces, how he thought about going and getting this throw-in coach and why that was, how it's not just about let's go and get the best footballers, it's let's enhance our physio team, let's, go and what's the latest in nutritional edges, let's go and do that. All these little details he is massively into, and he never gets the credit for that. The Buvat shout is a great one. It was a mental few months off Twitter where you were getting accused of being a shit journalist because you didn't want to ask Klopp why did he let Buvat go, because things are falling apart, and you don't ask the question because you speak to enough people to know there's no difference, it doesn't matter, it carries on, because nothing, the magic, and it's the same with Pochettino. These are collaborative managers, and they're smart in that they get really good people around them who they trust, who are, experts in their fields, and they empower them to have a say on things. Essentially, though, the final say and the magic and the ability to pull it all together comes from the very top, comes from Jurgen, comes from Pochettino, and they are both tactically astute managers who are far more than their personalities.
Just want to pull you in on this. When you talk about coaching's a complicated thing. People act like it's straightforward, and we've moved well beyond now even the idea that it's just telling players what to do. But I do wonder, Ben, we praise Pochettino because he makes at times quite bold changes, and Klopp's made bold changes. But what I think you've seen this season is a Liverpool side who Klopp has educated to sort things out for themselves. And that's another advantage I think we have over this Tottenham side. I trust the brains of our operation through the spine of that team. Alisson, Van Dijk, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Milner, Fabinho, Firmino, Mane, to problem solve.
Robertson.
I trust that. I trust them to problem solve, and that's why it's interesting to me that if your players solve problems, and we've gone on a journey with this Liverpool side of not watching them problem solve, going right the way back to Rodgers' semi-final when he makes 4 formation changes and a half because these lads on the pitch, he just doesn't feel they're capable of it. I think that's an extreme version, but I think that that's where Klopp now is. He hasn't just coached them; he's educated them. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And I think looking at the game now, I think treating this as a one-off, I agree. I think you've got a set of players who, you'd back all of them. You'd back Virgil to try and sort something out. You'd back your centre mids to be able to say, well, you push there, you pull in here for me for 5 minutes, you go there. I think the difference between this is you don't get 97 points in the league and not have lads on the pitch who can problem solve for themselves. And yet the manager's made some great substitutions. He's brought some. He's impacted games in that manner. But you still have got a group that are able to make decisions to find a way through 10-minute spells and matches.
Just a few examples. You think about Trent's corner against Barcelona.
The set
think about Virgil van Dijk telling Shaqiri to take the free kick instead of Trent. There's loads of things that Jurgen has come out with afterwards this season and said
it was the boys, it wasn't us.
It's the players, yeah. I'm happy they took that
even
decision.
Alisson refusing to go up for the corner at Barca.
It's stuff like that. It's also the ability to just take the sting out of a game for 5 minutes. Keita done it the other week against someone. We were all getting carried away and Keita kept the ball for 5 minutes. And he's going to be a miss, which out of nowhere it didn't look like he was going to play, and then he's probably going to be a miss. But he just kept the ball. Said, right, I'm just keeping this ball for a minute. And we just popped it about. We done it the other week.
That Chelsea?
I think it was, yeah. But we've done it. I think one of the criticisms, and I think one of the reasons why, you know, managers maybe review who they work with, who's in that sort of in a group, why they've stopped listening to someone, why they need a new set of ideas and a new mindset and a new coach. Ferguson was magic at it, bringing in new coaches with new ideas, new people, so that the players A, didn't get bored, but also B, learned. And I think there has been a big difference in between how Liverpool manage games this season, and that's part and parcel of the characters you've got on the pitch, who are frankly bigger characters. You look at this Champions League final group as opposed to the last Champions League final group. There's a lot of decisions to be made still around who's going to start. I think there's decisions in midfield, whereas last year it was like, that's our team, and if anyone gets injured, we're fucked. And we've got a fella in goal who, you know, is a liability possibly, but we're just going to have to see how we get on. This season you look at, well, you've got a keeper who is one of the best in the world, if not the best. You've got one of the best centre-halves in the world. You've got Matip, who's come out of nowhere.
I thought when you were saying you've got one of the best centre-halves in the world, you were talking about...
Well, yeah, I was. But then you've got this midfield group. You've got Gini, who's probably been the most consistent over the course of a year. Not guaranteed to start because you've got Henderson now playing in that position. You've got Fabinho who can go in here. You've got so many options and so many ways of finding your way to get the result you want, that you'd fancy us to problem solve on the pitch. And I also think the other thing to think about, we've mentioned, you know, being worried about Pochettino. He's brilliant at making changes. What you shouldn't forget is that he does fuck about with his formation a lot. The reason they had to win by 3 goals in the second half against Ajax is they got battered at home because he set up with a mad formation, and he absolutely played into their hands, and he murdered them because of the way he set up. And
they should have won the whole tie in that first half.
Should have won the whole tie there and then.
First half of the first leg.
So you also need to counter that, you know, saying he's a brilliant manager by saying now and again he does cause them issues by what he set them up at. So there's question marks over how they're going to set up. Are they going to try and stop us? Are they going to try and...
Just to come back to you on that, the 3 weeks, this is where I think it's interesting. I think that this is... I think managers can get into their own heads. I think, for instance, if you look at Benitez in his 2 finals, I don't think he picks the right team starting 11 in either of them, in either of his Champions League finals, and I think he's the one of the greatest tacticians the game's ever seen. But I think he gets. But you end up with this long period of time. You can think yourself in and out of things. I think almost having a clarity about what it is you're going to do could be better for you. That's where I do think the gap could work against Spurs, along with the Kane thing.
I agree because you know, Rafa in that first final picks the wrong, doesn't pick a man. Ludicrous. Then the plans go mentally, you know, really badly wrong. We're getting battered. Someone goes off injured. He still doesn't pick a man, and you're like, lads, fucking hell, give it a rest. And I do agree with that. I think, you know, does he trust his players enough to just say, right, here's our best side, go and play, or does he think this Liverpool team's pretty fucking formidable, by the way? I'm going to need to help my team to come up with some master plan to overcome this, because if we don't, chances are it's going to play out this way and they're going to win. There is that question mark. He might do something wacky and it might work for them, but they might get run over.
I think he knows it's close enough that he's got to be second guessing Pochettino. Pochettino's got those 2 ways he goes, with the 3 at the back or how he goes second half. And Klopp's got to prepare. He knows we were caught out to a degree by the formation switch, and I think that's what they'll be working on. Impose your game first and foremost, but if something changes, impose your game in a different way. And I think that's going to be a key part of preparation.
Yeah, I think, you know, the point we're making about players being able to problem solve is a massive one, because there's only so much preparation you can do, and actually you cannot prepare for the exact eventuality of when the game is unfolding. It's not unfolding the way you prepared for it. It's unfolding by its own, you know, terms. And that's what managers always talk about halftime, and both of them, Pochettino and Klopp, are massive get in at halftime and distill your messages and change what you need to change immediately, because that's your chance. Because you have no idea. You can predict what you think may happen, but it rarely ever works out that it goes as you designed it to. And halftime gives you the opportunity to now, okay, that's happened, and in order to change, this is what you need to do. So having players on the pitch who can actually sort situations out for themselves is very, very important when your preparation is not tallying with what the reality is. I think Liverpool are, if you're talking about just pure terms, Liverpool are a better balanced team, a better unit, more about them in sort of every respect, whether that be physicality, whether that be speed, whether that be talent, like just, raw talent. But we all know that's not really how football works. I just think Liverpool will be quite assured. I don't think there'll be much overthinking, or they know what got them 97 points. They know how they've reached back-to-back Champions League finals. It's happened in a different sort of way, but still with the same underlying elements. And I think that's how they continue, whereas Tottenham have to be a lot better than they have been, which probably does mean a lot more in terms of coaching and thinking about it tactically and, poring over details.
Tottenham have had a lot of, as we just hinted at, having to right wrongs. So their triumph over Ajax is because they fucked up. Liverpool's triumph over Barcelona isn't because Liverpool fucked up. Liverpool got unlucky in that first leg.
I think that's the key. You mentioned here what games will they be looking at, and we've got PSG away, and them early Champions League group games. You look at them now, they're like a different side almost, because you look at the last 2 away performances in Europe by Liverpool being the 2 best away performances for fucking 10 years. The Barcelona when we got beat 3-0. That was ridiculous. That was as best we've played. That was as good as we've played in years. And it seems ridiculous saying that we got beat 3-0, but we were brilliant that night. And Bayern away, that was an assured, controlled performance, European performance. It was everything you want in a European away, scoring goals at right times, controlling the crowd, controlling the tempo, and that, at the point at which you're fearing, it might not go away, they're the ones you hang your head on. Them 2 performances, I think you look at them performances and think, right, we're going to be all right here because we can manage this game in this manner.
Also, you talk about right and wrongs. Tottenham got beat 13 times in the league. Got beat 13 times. That's a lot of getting beaten. That's a lot of not right and wrong. Just throwing it out there. If something's gone wrong here and you've not righted it because you got beat 13 times, I'll allow that 4 or 5 of them are a bit unfortunate. But there's 7 or 8 times you deserve to get beat.
Well, on top of that, just on that point, I'm laughing to myself listening, because imagine that when it's like, so here are the games we're going to model ourselves on to beat them. Imagine Pochettino sitting down with the Spurs team and showing them, like, Barcelona beating 3-0 away, and sitting watching that game, and at the end and looking at each other going, what?
Yeah. So if we get a free kick 35 yards out.
So our plan is to just be dead lucky, hope they miss loads of chances, and have Messi playing for us. That's not a plan, boss. Like, because it's exactly that, isn't it? Go back to PSG if you want, go back to Napoli. That's a long time ago now. You look at our team recently. Yeah,
the first half of the season, I think it's been a little bit glazed over as Fabinho's settling in period, Naby Keita's settling in period, Naby Keita also missing through injury, and Liverpool getting used to the new Liverpool, the more, composed, assured, less blitzy Liverpool. Whereas...
Also focusing energies on the league campaign.
Yeah. You can't... The contrast is too deep to try and draw any conclusions from that earlier period in the Champions League. I think when you're looking at Liverpool now as an opposition manager, it's quite difficult because Liverpool don't actually have weaknesses, bar Liverpool can be, if Liverpool aren't clinical, it's a Liverpool issue. You've not made Liverpool not be clinical, which is, you think about that Barca, the first leg, that was the issue. Liverpool just didn't take their chances. And as an opposition manager, you cannot make them not take their chances.
City away is another example, actually. It's probably not that dissimilar a game to the Barca game, where we just don't take our... Where key moments we're unlucky with our chances. Mane hitting the post and the one that's 11 millimetres.
First half against Bayern at home, which was massively glossed over in that it became this Bayern Munich defensive masterclass. When I actually watched the first half back before the second leg, I was a bit like... Hang on a minute. We've opened these up a lot here. And second half, but it becomes a different game because Liverpool actually prioritise last 20 minutes not conceding over the idea of scoring. Liverpool very much want to get out with just the nil. And I think that was the thing that was missed about that. And a lot of the sort of the discourse around it was the nil. Listen, we were going to talk about the ticketing, but we're not because we're short of time.
Because there fucking is none.
And well, there's that as well. There's hard lines being had all over the place.
None.
Still no tickets.
There's a haunted look in Gutmann's eye. It's not going anywhere.
Not going to Madrid. At this rate.
Yep. It's all of this though does make. I mean, we can have a chat about allocations, rightly so. We can also have a chat about there being no easy answers, rightly so. We can have a chat about it not being easy being Liverpool, rightly so. The thing that actually pisses me off at the minute is that it is in the second biggest stadium in Madrid. Like, it's not in the biggest stadium in Madrid. They picked the second biggest stadium in Madrid.
Who's going to want to go to a Champions League final? They thought as they planned it. Why would you need to maximise for that kind of event? The biggest one in world football, in world sport.
So there we are. Football goes on. You're about to do a gutter, aren't you, Rob?
I am, Neil.
What's on it?
It's
our transfer.
Talking about tickets.
Yeah, I know.
Transferring some tickets.
We're looking over the head of the European Cup final.
Exchanging one of his sons for tickets.
Do you want me?
Sorry, mate.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm thinking about tickets now. Where I might get tickets. Yeah, the Gutter Show. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about because we don't know whether they've got a lot to talk about. It seems mad trying to improve this team, but we're actually going to dig deep and see if we can try and improve this team in the Gutter Show. And I have got some concrete-ish links, I think. Mel, can you help me out here?
No.
Mel's not going to be on this one.
Giving you fuck all.
Oh, Mel.
Shutting you down straight away. That is to come. You can get that if you pay £5 a month. Along with the Jamie Carragher thing, over half an hour of that, I think it is coming out tomorrow. Really, really good. John enjoyed himself massively, as hopefully did Jamie, so thank you very much to him. Thanks again if you did vote for us in the podcast awards, and thanks very much to our partners, RedsBet. Very pleased to partner with them in 2019. Hopefully this has made you feel good about the enterprise. Liverpool are going to Madrid, and Liverpool have the opportunity to win the most important of the European Cups, which would be the 6th one.